All right. Yes, Samuel, can you hear me? Oh, we're waiting a little bit for people to join in, but yes, we're starting now. Please, can you confirm you can hear me? Okay, I think you can mute yourself. Give me a second. You should be able to unmute yourself now.
Mhm. Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. Okay. So we've got a bunch of people on the call. This call will be recorded or is being recorded, so I can also share the recording with people that are not able to make it. I don't think someone needs any introduction. um at this point, everybody here knows who someone is, but for formality's sake, someone is our CEO, our wonderful CEO at HackOps, and he's going to be sharing some insights into how to go about your pitch, right? What am I going to call it? Samuel is going to be part of the judges, right? So maybe you want to take some notes on this call. But yes, Samuel, thank you for joining us today. Okay, let me see if I can do anything about that.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's great. It's great to be back. I can see some I can see some familiar names here, and um I'm quite impressed that you guys have gotten to the stage actually.
Mm-hmm.
Very good work. Before okay, right, you can see me now. Good.
Yes, yes.
Before I just proceed, first of all, let me say big congratulations to everyone who has gotten to this stage. Um, I think it's testament to your dedication, right? I don't think we've been public about how many people actually applied for the hackathon, and there was actually north of 600 people, over 600 persons applied for the hackathon, almost I think almost 130 teams as well, right? But then the fact that you are here very much is testament to the great effort and the good work you have put in place. So huge congratulations to you guys. I'm super excited to see you on Saturday, see you on Friday actually, because I'll be with you during the hack day. And then also when you have to pitch your wonderful solutions, right? Which is exactly why we're here. Um, Naturally, I would have wished to be even more available because I understand how tricky pitching your idea the right way can be, right? It can go south really fast, and um maybe in the next hackups, right, we would have the luxury of making the experience significantly better, right? Because naturally, what I would want to do is for us to be able to have these meetings today, tomorrow, next tomorrow, up until say Wednesday or maybe even Thursday, right? Because it is very important for us to have like an accountability structure when it comes to practicing our pitch. But without further ado, let me just quickly share my screen. I've put together, I already have this presentation. I think I should. Yeah, host, please, can you give me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I'm coming, just trying to figure out the best layout. I'm seeing some very interesting things here from Zoom. Let's just keep it. Nothing too much. Yeah, you can see my screen, right?
Yes, we can.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, so guys, I'm just going to be talking to you quickly about pitching your idea. And I say quickly because there's not much to talk about, honestly. At the end of the day, the success of your pitch is usually um is usually from how you take away the few things I would mention today, basically, how you act upon it rather. And I would make that clear later. So first of all, important to note that I'm not sure the organizing team has mentioned this here. You guys are going to have 7 minutes each. Now how you choose to use the 7 minutes, I think perhaps is ultimately up to you, right? 7 minutes, and this would include your pitch and then also a few minutes for your demonstration, because it's important for you to also show what you have built so far. Yeah, 7 minutes. If you want to do 4 minutes of pitch, fine, and then 3 minutes um of um of of your demo, that's fine. If you want to spend less pitching and more doing your demo, that's entirely up to you as well, wherever you feel like your strong points are, because naturally some solutions it would be easier to convey the idea by showing what you have built than rather than speaking, right? But yeah, 7 minutes, please put that in mind, and we're going to be very, very strict about it, very, very strict about it, because a lot of us are going to be presenting as such. In order to not take too much time away from our gracious judges, we have some very, very interesting people coming to judge you, right? So we would not want to take too much of their time, and as such, it's important for us to be very, very strict, right? So what is a pitch? I think some of us may already remember I shared some snippets of this slide in our last conversation. But yeah, what is a pitch basically? Um, does anybody want to tell me what a pitch is from your own perspective? It sounds like a trick question, but I promise you it's not.
You can just signify by using the um hand raise thing.
Yeah, raise your hand and we would unmute you.
Do we have anybody that wants to go?
Anybody? It's important for this to be very, very interactive, right? I need to know that we are following.
Mhm. Okay, we have Joshua.
Awesome. Yeah,
Um, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Joshua. Hi.
Okay, so I think pretty obviously a pitch involves introducing your product to an audience, possible investors, possible consumers, and all that.
Absolutely. I like that. Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else? Nobody? Nobody? Okay. I think we can proceed. Yeah, thank you so much, Joshua. Okay, Jamil wants to speak. Please go on.
Yeah, you can unmute yourself now. Can you hear us?
Yeah, good evening. So basically, tech pitching is just you presenting your idea to investors or users, basically, on how it works and so.
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so. Yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, very similar to what Joshua and Jamil have said. It's pretty much a conversation, right? If you start to bring in the investor part, users part, yeah, it becomes slightly technical. But then the truth is, if you have an idea and you're talking to somebody about it, you're trying to make them understand, the problem, understand the solution. That's basically a pitch, right? Um, it's important to try to look at it from a conversational perspective, so to not give yourself too much pressure, right? Even when you are on stage, right? It's important that you try to simulate that conversational experience. It just makes your pitch so much 100x better, basically. So what's different is, you are using very intentional words, because if you think of a salesperson trying to sell something to someone, they are very intentional about their choice of words. Some may even lie to you just to convince you to drop money or purchase whatever it is they are trying to sell to you. So intentional words to convince someone to buy or accept something, an idea, a product, whatever the case may be, basically, right? But things to understand before we go deep, right? The truth is, whether you are on stage, whether you are speaking to somebody one-on-one on the street, you cannot say it all, right? And in addition to that, most people will only remember like 3 to 4 points in what you're trying to say to them, right? And as such, it's very important for you to be concise, emphasis on concise. You have to be able to communicate, the whole idea, the whole purpose, without saying too much, basically, right? Say it's like doing more with less words, right? Important to note, very, very concise, 3 to 4 points, most people can remember. Now I'm talking about the simple pitch structure. I'm trying to recall if I mentioned this on when we're talking about slides, but then I know I mentioned that your your pitching slide is very different from your the slides you send to investors when they ask to say, oh, let me see your pitch deck, or consumers, oh, let me see your pitch deck. The deck you use to pitch is very different from that, right? And hopefully I'll be able to show you guys the difference in terms of context, right? So four ish things for you to pay attention to. Basically, when you're pitching, your pitch must carry all of these things. Everything else is a plus if you have the luxury to say it, right? The 4 points or the 4-ish points that are important for you to mention when you're pitching to someone is, first of all, you try to well, and please, this is in no linear order, right? It's just like 4 things you need to note, right? Your pitch should have a clear communication of the problem and the unique insights that you have. So unique insights can be from your own personal experience, right? Or from research, right? So it's always very interesting if you're able to throw in a story when you're talking about a problem. It makes it more relatable, right? If you're not able to tell that story, if your story may be too long, for instance, and you're not able to cut it short, perhaps it's important, is not even perhaps, definitely, it's important for you to find another way to express that unique insight that validates your problem statement. right? It could be some statistical research, right? Showing some numbers that back what you're saying, right? So for instance, for PipeOps, we're saying um software or we're saying tech businesses struggle with cloud deployment, right? So then we then further say that, oh, this is because we have done some research and we have found out that over 95% of tech businesses actually struggle with deploying to the cloud, right? And it's particularly because they don't have the right expertise in their team. And this is because only 8% of global tech workers actually have the skill set to serve these businesses. So you see, I didn't say anything about my story of how I was struggling with DevOps at some point, but I was able to communicate that, okay, I'm saying there's a problem, and then this is data that is backing what I'm saying, basically. Next thing you would want to talk about is obviously what you're building, and most importantly, whom you're building for. You can't, those two go, they go hand in hand, right? You don't want to leave a pitch with your audience wondering what your solution is and whom it's for. It's like, why you even do it in the first place? I see Clement is having fun with Zoom. I don't know what it's trying to do. But yes, um, why? And then next thing is, why are you uniquely positioned to solve this problem, right? Um, the way you can approach this, right, is I think from two perspectives, right? You can talk about your team, right? Emphasis on talking about your team, because I think I mentioned this in the last call that naturally, if your team is not, if you don't have somebody who is an agba in the field that you're building for, perhaps you should run away from talking about your team, right? That's in the ideal case, but then what we have currently is a hackathon, right? It's not a full-blown pitch competition of some sort, right? A lot of your ideas are yet to be actualized. So, so it's fine. It's fine for you to talk about your team, because ultimately how far the solution has come currently is as a result of your wonderful teammates. So you can, it's fine to talk about that, right? And then also, the second way you can tackle this is also what you know that your competitors don't know, right? That's also one way you can answer the question of, why are you uniquely positioned to solve this? And then the next thing is, why is this an opportunity not to be missed, right? You can talk about this from two perspectives as well, right? The first perspective would be talking about the market opportunity. I think I mentioned this in the last call. Market opportunity being that, how much money can this make, really, right? How much money can you attain, right? If you can also remember how I said you should derive your market opportunity. The total number of users you are able to sell to times how much they are willing to pay for it, or how much um you are offering your solution to them for, or at rather. And then the second way you can communicate why this is an opportunity not to be missed is in your conclusion, right? And in your conclusion, you want to express a glimmer of hope, basically, right? If you're building, so let me use PipeOps for instance now. Why it's in your best interest to come on board at PipeOps is we're building the future of cloud deployments, right? And this is because if if you pay attention to how the world is moving, right, you see that we're moving fast to a point where all software development workflows will be entirely assisted with artificial intelligence, right? Soon, the least technical people will be able to build an MVP of some sort, right, of some degree, using artificial intelligence, right? And that future is going to be incomplete without AI assisted deployment, right? And this is where PipeOps comes in. We're going to make it such that anybody can deploy the applications to the cloud with just the click of a button, right? So, you know, hearing that conclusion, basically, I think it would give you some perspective as to, oh, you know, the world is moving in this direction, and look, you don't want to miss out on what we're building here, right? So the four-ish things basically. Moving on. Please, if you have questions, just document them in the chat, you know, so we can go through them afterwards. I'll try to make this as short as possible because I also have a video I want to show you to give you some context. Right. I think we already spoke about the slide structure. Right. Keep it simple. Please do not start your pitch without briefly stating what you are building. Please do not start your pitch without briefly stating what you are building. You can some of you can call it your elevator pitch, maybe your one-liner, your two-liner, whatever it is you want to call it. Well, please, the truth is nobody's even interested. Nobody's really interested in your name, right? But then, you know, out of courtesy, it just makes sense for you to intro yourself first of all, if that is what you want to do. But then your name is not the most is not the foremost thing for you to talk about when you're pitching. The foremost thing for you to talk about when you're pitching is your solution, basically your elevator pitch, you know, however you want to call it. I'll give you some context later, which is basically your intro. You may talk about that in your title slide, you know, whatever the case may be, basically. And then after that, you want to talk about your problem, right? Talk about your problem, your insights, you know, whether it's your story or, you know, some data you have discovered through research to back or to emphasize that what you're talking about is true, right? And then you talk about your solution and the customer, right? Who it is for, right? You can, and then in this part, you may not have the luxury to talk about how it works. That's the truth. Depending on how complex some of your solutions may be, but naturally, it also makes sense to also find a way to quickly communicate how your solution works, right? So for instance, let me use PipeOps again. So if I jump onto this solutions section, it would be that, after I've spoken about the problem, and then I'll say, oh, this is where PipeOps comes in, right? PipeOps eliminates the need for software developers to have cloud expertise, right? And we do this by automating and abstracting the complex cloud workflows so software developers can deploy their applications to the cloud in minutes, not hours, right? Additionally, PipeOps offers a highly portable cloud hosting experience that makes it such that software allows software developers to deploy their apps across various cloud platforms, virtual machines, and even physical servers, if that's the case. Right. So, from what I have just said, you have an idea of what we're trying to do, or what our solution is, and how we go about solving the solution. Very, very concisely. I cannot stress that enough, because you think 7 minutes is a lot of time. Uh, it is actually a lot of time. A lot can be said in 3 minutes. A lot can be said in four. minutes, and let's not even talk about 7 minutes, right? It's a lot of time, but then when it's easy for you to lose yourself, right? When you are speaking, before you know it, 4 minutes have gone by and you have said absolutely nothing, right? We don't want that. Talking about your market, it's important to stress. So the best case for the market, right? Because I see some of you or some of us may also want to add like a business model slide. Hmm? That's fine, but then remember we're trying to be very, very concise. In the slide that you send to your investors, please add that, right? But then because you don't want to give yourself too many things to talk about, just find a way to communicate how you make money when you're talking about your market opportunity, right? That's why you can't see a business model slide here. But then if you feel you can do that too if you have the luxury. That's fine. And then talk about your traction. Remember what I said about traction last time. A lot of us barely have any traction or don't have any traction, right? So don't talk about, we don't want, you cannot show us what we would want to see ideally. Ideally, we would want to see a graph of your growth, right? How many users you've been able to onboard. Excuse me, sorry. How many users you've been able to onboard in since you went live, right? Most of us haven't gone live yet. So what you want to talk about again here is, how much you've been able to build out since you started the hackathon, right? How many features, or what your solution can do currently, right? That's what you would want to talk about in traction. For those of us who may have been able to expose our solutions to users already, excellent. You can just say, in this time, since we built the V1 during during the first stage of the hackathon, um, we've been able to onboard 20 users on the platform, right? Best case scenario is you have revenue already, but then no pressure whatsoever. If you don't have revenue, that's fine. We understand. And then your team, the reason I put a question mark here is because remember what I said. Ideally, if your team is not full of agbas, there's no point talking about your team now. It's not really a competitive advantage. However, in your pitch on Saturday, please talk about your team. It's perfectly fine to talk about your team. Your conclusion, remember what I said. You don't want to conclude with join us as we build the future of cloud development. Nope. That's not going to help you, right? You want to conclude with, we're building the next big thing, right? In the world, right? Remember I said, talking about this, why is this an opportunity not to be missed, right? This is your opportunity to stress that, right? Talk about, you know, inspire a glimmer of hope, basically, as I've said, right? Make it such that they can almost see your vision. They can see the huge potential that this solution has, right? And how it is important moving forward. Right. So that's how you want to conclude your pitch, right? Moving on, I think I may have already spoken about this as well. Now, more emphasis on this because remember I said the slides or deck you would send to investors, which ultimately was what you sent to us for the submissions of the first stage, is very different from what you used to pitch. It's very, very different from what you used to pitch. And I'm going to show you that. So I'm not going to say too much, right? I'm just going to show you so you understand exactly what I'm talking about. It'll be difficult to show both of them side by side, but I'll find a way. No worries. So just to run through this quickly, one main point per slide. If you're talking about your problem statement, let it be your problem statement. If it's your solution, let it be your solution. You want to have large legible fonts, something people can easily see. You want to have, you want to make sure that the most important part of what you're trying to say in that section is at the top, right? Don't play around with design, throwing things down, throwing things all over the place, right? Use good contrast. If you want to use a white background, make sure the text on it has very good contrast. Excuse me. And then if avoid multiple graphs, right? For those of us who have traction already, please don't throw too many graphs into our faces, right? And also if your graph is not going up and to the right, hockey stick kind of thing, up and to the right. Don't show us any graph, please. Once again, stressing large legible fonts. Now on stage, quickly just addressing what your demeanor slash countenance should be, right? You want to project yourself as being confident. Now, I understand that not many of us have the same, or not many of us are extroverted, right? The best speakers are not necessarily the most extroverted people. That's the truth. I am not an extrovert. But then I have found a way to, I even stutter. For some of us who may have noticed, I stutter as well, but then I found a way to leverage that to optimize my public speaking, right? And this has helped to boost my confidence. So naturally, what I'm trying to say is it is very important for you to imbibe confidence in yourself, right? And one way to actually have confidence is to be entirely sure of what you're talking about, right? Remember now, as I said, I think Ayomide can relate to this. Naturally, I come off as a quiet person, right? But then you don't want to see me playing football. Or if you see me playing football, rather, you will see an entirely different person, right? Football is something I have passion for, right? And I pride myself in my knowledge of football. So when it comes to arguing about football, trust me, you will think I'm an extrovert. And that's because I know deep down that I know what I'm talking about. You know, you get that kind of thing, right? So that's just what I'm trying to make you understand here, right? Confidence has nothing to do with whether you're an extrovert or introvert or both, whatever the case may be, right? Confidence is hugely based off of I know what I'm talking about. I'm not giving you crap, right? Next thing you would want to consider is don't raise your voice, please. Okay, yes, raise your voice, but there's a difference between shouting, speaking loudly, right? You know, it can be a very thin line, but don't shout, don't shout, don't shout on us, please. Nobody's here to fight you, right? So, what you want to do is you make sure that you are projecting, right? It's not just you won't just stand one place. Actually, you can actually stand one place, right? Standing one place, ultimately, whatever makes you confident. As I said, right? Some people feel confident when they are walking around, right? And that is also very good, right? Sparingly, walking around sparingly to draw attention, right? Is very good. But pacing back and forth is a no-no. It will often reflect that you're not confident and you are anxious, right? Or even jerking back and forth as well. That doesn't help. You're speaking, you make sure you're projecting yourself accordingly, right? stretching your arms when you can. If you don't want to stretch your hand, that is fine, right? You can put your arms like this, right, in front of you or behind you, and then just occasionally use one hand to demonstrate. Because for some people like myself, using my hands can actually distract me, right? So I try to be minimal with that. Put one hand behind myself and then use the other one to project what I'm trying to say, right? Um, I'm not the pacing around kind, but then consciously I try to take a few steps from time to time, right? Speak clearly and slowly, please. We know you have such little time, but then it's very important that you are able to communicate what you are trying to communicate. And the best way for you to do that is if you're speaking slowly and clearly. Please don't come and be giving us a British accent. No, but I'm not interested. Even if some of the people who may be judging you may have accents, please don't try to resonate with them on that level, right? Um, your dramatic effects with pauses, right? So when you're speaking, you know how, and I know this because during my NYSC, I taught computer studies in Port Harcourt, right? And I taught JSS1 students. Now, you know how when you're writing something on the board, the students are doing whatever it is they want to do, right? Or even when you're even speaking with them, a few of them are still making noise entirely. But now you know that when you just abruptly stop, just stop, say nothing, look around, a few of them would start to notice that, okay, this guy has stopped talking. What's up? What's happening? And then they start to nudge themselves to, bro, keep quiet. Something is up, basically, right? You can actually adopt that in your pitch. Now, now the whole idea for that is if you're speaking, in order to ensure that people are following, a good pause of like 1-2 seconds max would actually help your pitch. It also shows some level of confidence because it is you indirectly trying to control the crowd, right? So that's also something you can explore in your pitch. Smile, when you say something interesting, right? Smile. Something interesting being that, oh, we've built out 12 features on the platform in just a few days. That's something commendable, right? So when you say it, you should almost say it in a way that would inspire people to clap, right? Some people would pick it, some people would not. But then for those who pick it, which I'll be part of them, trust me, I'll be your number one cheerer. Once I see those points where you expect me to clap for you, I will clap for you. And the way these things work, if one person claps, more people will clap. This is one way for you to even boost your confidence even more, right? And then I think I already spoke about stand or move naturally. Don't pace around, right? Remember, it's not a debate. You are not here to propose the motion that there's no honor in stuff ahead, right? You're not here to do that, please. It's a conversation. Remember what I said. And as such, it's just that it's a conversation with multiple people. The only difference now is you have to try to project, right? If you're speaking one-on-one, you may not need to be doing some elaborate things, as you would do on stage, right? And most importantly, please do what works for you, man. Do what works for you, right? Now, there are some red flags, yes. All right, as I said, for myself, throwing my hands up and down can be distracting. right? So I try to minimize that. So, I put one hand behind myself. Excuse me. Sorry. I put one hand behind myself, and I I use the other hand to try to project, right? You can put two hands behind yourself. That is fine, right? You can put two hands by your side, but don't look robotic. Hmm? That's just what um, I would just say for this, basically. Do what works for you. Um, yeah, yeah, do what works for you. And then please, one very important thing. Now, I don't know, it's just going to be one person that will pitch. Very important to note. However, maybe you can have one of your teammates. In fact, ideally, that's the case, to actually control your slides for you. So you don't have to worry about changing slides, right? What I want you to do is talk about your solution without even looking at your slides. That shows a great level of confidence, right? So I don't think we would want to give you clickers. I don't think we would want to give you clickers. But for those of you who will be coming alone, maybe tricky, but then we'll figure it out and then communicate what the decision is eventually. Because personally, I find those things can be very, very distracting. Imagine, if I've seen this many times, you're trying to change your slides, it's not changing, immediately that knocks you off your page, right? So we don't want stuff like that. So um and this extends to you not looking at your slides. If you know at the end of the day you have to use a clicker of some sort to move back and forth, please don't look at your slides when you're talking, right? Your slides will be behind you. I don't want you to be saying this ABC, this, you click, you look again. Please don't do that, because what you're supposed to be talking about is or your deck is supposed to be just a visual representation of some sort of what you are saying, right? We don't want your deck to be distracting, right? Such that attention is drawn away from you who is speaking and what you're saying to what you're showing them. Unless there is a demonstration of some sort, or please, in fact, I'm going to say you should shy away from having demonstrations in your decks. Demonstrations that have to show with playing a video, all of those things. Trust me, it almost never goes well. Is when in your deck, normally, when you put the video, it will always play. But when they want to show it on stage, it will not play. And that would knock you off already, right? Ewa is laughing. That's the truth. See, we see these things. It's like the law of demo, right? I think some developers would know this. It will work on your local, it will work fine, but once you want to show it to somebody, everywhere don't scatter. It's nothing is showing, right? We don't we don't want that. So please keep the demonstration after the pitch. Don't put anything that will cause wahala. If you put it, that's just what I have to say concerning that. And then now there's one thing I want us to pay attention to, and that is, I cannot overemphasize that the success, I think I may have hinted at it, the success or the driver to a good pitch is actually that you know what you are talking about. You know it at the back of. See, if you are sleeping, you can recite it, right? So write out your script being what you want to say on stage that day. Write it out and cram it. This practice is like is a tush way to say cram. Cram it. And the ways you can cram it, I mean, the way I went about my last pitch, it was that I wrote out my script. I sent it over to GPT, had GPT recite it, and then I recorded it. So I was listening to my pitch like music. It sounds absurd, but the reason you know the lyrics to your favorite songs these days, right, is because you have listened to it over and over again. Honestly, that's the truth. And it's the same thing that happens with your pitch, right? And I shared this great idea to tell you how this is crazy. It sounds crazy, but it will work. Trust me. I shared this great idea with E and OG. OG is like one of our mentors, and also the facilitators of Accelerate Africa, E being Iyaboyeji. And they found it so intriguing that they said that they would adopt this, when they're speaking. So please find a way to record. Maybe is recording yourself, or as I did, send it to GPT, have GPT recite it, record it with your phone, listen to it, like just listen to it over and over again, right? But most importantly, write out your script first of all. Writing out your script first of all would make it easy for you to figure out how and where to cut out certain things. It will make it easy for you to rephrase certain lines. First of all, say it how you want to say it normally, right? And then objectively try to cut things down, right? To make it much simpler for you. So I'm just going to play a video quickly, right? And I want you to pay attention to how much can be said in 3 minutes, right? Because you may think 3 minutes is short, but then there's a lot you can say in 3 minutes. And let me just quickly share my screen. If I stop sharing, what happens? Hi. Okay. Okay. Please let me know when you can see my screen. And also, if you can hear the audio. Hi, we're DoorDash. Hi. Can you hear the audio?
Yes, yes.
Excellent, good. So this is a pitch by DoorDash. You can see it's under 3 minutes, right? And I'll play now, and then you will see how much can be said in such short period. So, yeah. Hi, we're DoorDash, and we enable every restaurant to deliver. For customers, we offer restaurant food delivery in under 45 minutes. And for restaurant owners, we provide our own drivers, and we manage the logistics of delivery. Now, you might think that food delivery is a solved problem. But if you live in Menlo Park or Palo Alto, you know that's not true. Outside of pizza joints, just about no restaurant in this area delivers. Therefore, services like Seamless or Grubhub, which merely aggregate menus but don't actually deliver, don't work. In fact, that means the market is underserved because over 70% of the United States live in areas where restaurants don't deliver. Now, there are courier services who are sending people to place takeout orders on your behalf. But because they don't partner with the merchants, they are slower and structurally more expensive. We're the only company in this space that manages both our own logistics and partners with the merchants. We figured out the model to make consumer deliveries work. Because we control the entire experience of delivery, we offer the best performance at the same cost. When an order is made in our system, it gets placed immediately at an iPad installed at the restaurant. We've also built logistics software to make it dead simple for any driver to onboard into our network. Our logistics model is winning. In over 3,500 deliveries, we've averaged 44-minute delivery times between when you place your order and when you receive your food, better than our peers. But unlike our peers who operate in the cities, we did this in the suburb of Palo Alto, an area that's much more spread out and more difficult. Because of our great service, we've grown our weekly orders by over 30% week over week. And we've already generated over $1.5 million in annualized sales for our restaurants. We figured out how to make consumer deliveries work. Our growth proves that. But what's more, our driver network and logistics software enables us to even go beyond food. If you were building the FedEx of today to manage local deliveries wouldn't happen overnight.
or even same day. They would happen on demand. And that's what we're building at DoorDash. If you're interested in hearing more, please come find us afterwards. Thank you.
Right, yeah. Honestly, personally, that felt like he was talking for 5 minutes. And I know some of us also have this feeling, but then he said all of that in less than 3 minutes. You know, that's testament to the fact that if you have your script, yeah, you know, if you have your script right, there's a lot you can say in 3 minutes. That's just the truth. And you know, what facilitates that also is that you know what you're talking about. You know what you're talking about, and everything follows a trail, right? I wish I had the time to show my pitch at Accelerate Africa, but then I think I will just share a link after that. It was actually hugely inspired by this, right? You know, so that's food for thought, basically. Yes, you know, 3 minutes sounds like a short time, you know, but then trust me, it is more than enough. It is more than enough. I cannot stress that. I'm going to stop here. Thank you so much for listening. I think we can just go to, okay. Any questions? Any questions so far? Okay, so Joshua is asking, how important is a demo if you have screenshots of your application or features in your presentation? Now, why do you need, so, you know, we're giving you an opportunity to actually demo your product after you have pitched, right? Remember I said 7 minutes, right? How you choose to use that time is entirely up to you, right? Now, since you have the opportunity to actually demo how your product works, what's the need for you to, you know, for you to show screenshots of your solution um, on the slides? There's really no need for that, since they are going to be seeing you click around, press, and you know, ultimately go through the flow of your idea, right? So yes, that's how I see things. Basically, it's not really necessary. Well, the recording of this meeting, I think it should. Yes, it would be, definitely. But yeah, that's fine. Answering Uchechukwu, uh, excuse me, it's fine if we don't expect everybody to be present. Actually, we want everybody to be present, right? However, it's fine if, you know, one teammate is not able to come. Ultimately, what we need is one person to represent you. That's the most, right? You know, what would not make sense is if you don't show up at all, right? So, yeah, thank you. You throw me shit at Etel. Yes, we're going to make sure we have um, access to the internet, both on the hack day and then also during your pitch day. Sponsorships for transport.
Hey,
I am
sorry.
the only.
Yeah, sorry. I thought you wanted to say something. I wanted to kick off because I think the last thing on the schedule is to give some information about you know, what to expect. And I can see there are a couple questions flowing in the chat, so we can just address those also before we round up completely. But you know, a couple, you know, to further emphasize some of the things you've said, right? We are going to have a pitch practice on during the act day, right? So that is actually accounted for in the agenda for for the hack day, right? Where teams will be given the opportunity to actually come and practice their pitch in the presence of everybody to kind of just simulate what that real life, speaking in front of an audience would look like. Um, so we think this would be helpful to help build some confidence and your pitch, get some third party opinion as to this is not going to be this would not have any effect on your score or anything. It's purely for the purpose of preparations, right? Um, so yes, we already sent out information as regards the date and the location um of the two events, which is the hack day and the actual like finale, right? We have also created a WhatsApp group so that communications would be easier amongst the finalists, right? So we'll be sharing that just so that we can easily pass information across, and we can easily get information to participants. So we would be sharing that link via email. I would also like to mention that it's going to be strictly by registration, right? So like Samuel said, we expect that your team would come, right? We expect that your team would come. In fact, it's that's what actually achieves the experience that we are going for best, that your team comes, because we've accounted for your team, that's the registered members. If for some reason or the other a teammate would not be able to make it, then you're sure it's fine, you can let us know. But because we are going to be expecting that some work is done on your projects during the hack day, right? I think that it is, it just makes sense that your team is around so that that collaboration can happen seamlessly. Um, the only other thing that I think we need to mention, I've seen a couple questions around transportation and accommodation, right? We've mentioned this earlier that provisions are not made for accommodations and transportations, which is why we've tried to keep this as what's it called, as reasonable as possible in context of like the agenda of the event, right? I mean, we believe that you've put in a lot of work up onto this stage, and you've put in a lot of work to get your projects out, and we are doing our best to also fulfill our side of the of this commitment, right? Talking about bringing together people from experienced people to come and look at your projects, giving you this platform and the opportunity to actually possibly make this a real thing. Also just the experience, right? The experience of building something, the experience of having we've heard a lot of stories from during the office hours, during people that we've invited to come and talk, when they've said, oh, they did a hackathon and they met somebody, and that person later down the road built something and all of that. So yeah, so to those questions, we don't have that accounted for. So please try to make those arrangements as soon as possible so that there are no impromptus, like Samuel said, we really would like to keep to time. Um really like to keep to time. So we would like to start when we say we want to start, and would like to end when we say we want to end, so that we don't delay people that might want to travel or delay even our judges, right? Um I also think it's worth mentioning that we refreshments will be provided during the hack day and during the final event also, right? So yes, we'll be providing refreshments during those days. So yeah, the objective is for you to improve your project, right? So you've done something, you've submitted, the judges had reviewed it and they've deemed it worthy or they've deemed it fit to get to the second phase. Now, what are those final touches that if you had one more day, you would have done? Now you have a couple more weeks, right? Some of the judges would have some things to say. We would not be sharing those things until the actual day. So that's why I've said it's maybe in your best interest to have your your team around so that you can work as fast as possible. But a few judges, this is not a requirement, but we believe that judges would have a unique insight into how to improve your product copied from their own experience, right? So we will be trying to get comments and reviews from the judges that reviewed your work to see how they think you can, improve your project, how they think you can make your presentation better or something like that. And we will share that information on the hack day, right? And we are doing this also to create that environment or create that experience of trying to quickly do something or trying to waste time. That's part of the experience of the hackathon, right? So yeah, I think those are the major announcements. I don't know if I'm missing anything. I don't think I am. We would be awarding the top 10 teams and the top 3, of course. So we are awarding the grand prize, first runner up, second runner up, and the top 10 teams. Everybody that participated in the hackathon so far and submitted a project would get a certificate of participation. It's I think it's important to have something to tie to this, to say that you actually done this and you actually put in some work, right? So everybody will be getting that, and people that would be coming for the physical events will be getting that on that day. We also have merch prepared for you guys, and a couple other surprises, right? So we, as much as possible, want to say get excited, do your best to improve your project, do your best to ensure that it works. During your demo, you're not going to come and demo localhost. You're not going to come and demo localhost 3303 or something like that. So make sure that your project works. Make sure that the functionalities that you say, make sure that functionalities that you say it has worked, right? If you're having any issues, please, please, and please contact support. We're going to see if we can have some technical guys available during the hack day also to maybe help support people physically. But yeah, I mean, like we always say, may the best dev win, may the best team win. And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing what you guys build. So I'm just gonna, Samuel, I don't know if do you wanna say anything? Where are you? Okay. Yep, you should
Yeah,
be.
thank you so much, AY. Um, Daniel, the time will be enough. Just trust me, 7 minutes is more than enough. So even when you're doing your demo, it's also very important for you to try to be concise. Don't talk about the flashy features, right? If you say your product is supposed to do XYZ, it's supposed to streamline a process of some sort. Just make sure that everything you're talking about during that demo reflects exactly exactly what that says, basically. So somebody also asked about investor slides and then your pitch slide, and I said I was going to quickly show you guys what the difference looks like, right? So, and this is very, very important. So let me just share my screen quickly again. Desktop one. Can you see me slide between two screens?
Do the slide again. Yes.
You can see that, right? Okay,
Yeah.
good. So the first slide that I have is, okay, this is my pitch. This is my pitch slide. Now, look at how different this is from the investor slide. Right? Investor slide, you can add a couple more things to say. Sorry about the beeping. You can add a couple of things to say, because you're not there with them, right? So you want to try to give them as much context as you can, not too much, as much as you can, right? So that's one. And then moving on to this. Okay, good. This one is somewhat similar to what I have. So this is my pitch. So I said go from code to cloud, no cloud expertise, no cloud provider lock-in, the same diagram, but bigger, right? Because the whole goal is to be more functional in your pitch deck, not your investor deck, right? This is investor deck, this is pitch deck, right? Moving on to the next. This is my market, how I defined our market opportunity for my pitch deck, right? But then for investor deck, I did not talk about that yet. I went on to talk about, you could say this is like how it works. So I talked about server provisioning, application deployment, monitoring, right? I did not add this to my pitch deck. Now, in my pitch deck, after my market, I talked about our traction, right? Now, this is about 45,000, not 19,000. Now, in investor deck, that was when I now got into market size, right? And after market size in investor deck, I spoke about competitive landscape, right? In my pitch deck, I did not talk about competitive landscape. Excuse me, please. Let me just turn off my. All right. All right, good. I didn't talk about my competitive landscape. Okay, yeah, I just spoke about the extras PipeOps offers, right? And then on the investor deck, I'm still at competitive landscape, right? And after competitive landscape on the investor deck, I'm talking about our business model, right? In my pitch deck, after this is conclusion. Straight to the point, right? Because I don't have time to talk about all of these things. I didn't talk about competition. In what I said, I spoke about how we make money. So there was no need for the business model slide. After business model, I'm talking about traction, talking about what the future is like for PipeOps. I'm talking about our team, our advisors, right? And then I now went to the end, basically, which is conclusion, right? So you see how much concise the pitch deck is. I did not say too much because most of what I want to communicate is in the words I'll be speaking, right? So straight to the point, simple demonstration of our problem statement with some insights, our solution. I was going to be talking about this, so there was no need to show too much here. Same thing to, with our market opportunity, just show the mathematics, right? 22 million times 168 dollars ultimately gave me this number, right? And then I went to traction. I went to the extras we're offering, just some interesting things basically, and then conclusion. Very simple, very straightforward. This is exactly how I expect your pitch to be simple, because if it's not this simple, trust me, you will spend more than 3 minutes. And the moment you start to spend more than 3 minutes, is already, you're already entering the red flag basically. So I hope this helps to give some context. Yeah.
I, s- I saw I saw a question on the chat asking if we were supposed to prepare both decks.
Oh, no, no,
Yeah,
just your.
definitely not just your pitch deck.
Mhm.
we're just showing the contrast between what a pitch deck looks like and what a investor deck looks like, just for educational purposes. We'll definitely also be sharing a link to the recording of this call, just so that you can just so that you can, go over this on your own time. I mean, I answered this previously, but I can see a couple more people asking in the chats. No, we don't have provisions for transportation and accommodation. So please make your arrangements as soon as possible, so that we so that you don't miss any of the lineups, right? It's important that you're around during the hack day, and you're around um during the final day to present your project. Let me just take another second to just go through the chat to see if there are any unique questions. I mean, we mentioned this concerning the leaderboard, right? We mentioned this earlier, that the leaderboard is purely for visualization, so we can have an insight into how teams are participating and the activities that are going on. If we would be doing anything with that, we'll definitely communicate, but we can't speak on that right now. There's a question that says also, can we include future development plans in our pitch? If the way I would answer that is, if you want to do that, then it should be clear that there are future plans. But I think I'll allow Samuel to
Pretty much, yeah. So you can think of it as like being able to, sell that glimmer of hope, basically, that, oh, some more interesting things are coming, right? And this is why you should not miss out on this opportunity. Yeah.
Awesome. I can see a couple questions in the chat also asking about only coming for the final day. This is a hackathon, and the hack day is part of the hackathon, right? So it is very important that you make yourself available. I mean, we like I said previously, we've tried to account for this and try to make this as bearable as possible. But we believe that people are able to give this some dedication, and people that are able to go out of their way to make themselves available should definitely what's it called, be rewarded for it. So that's why I keep saying, please make your arrangements as fast as possible. Call where you need to call, plan ahead of time so that you're not caught in any rush. What time exactly? So make for we're only giving this. Yes. So for the hack day, right, would be 9 o'clock, right? All this is going to be communicated again, but it's going to be 9 o'clock through to 5. I think for both days it's 9 to 5, more or less, right? So largely full days. But definitely we're going to optimize for closing as fast as possible so that people can find their ways and all of that stuff. But the sooner people arrive, the sooner we can start, the sooner we can get through what we need to do, and people can go back to their respective locations. The WhatsApp group, I'll drop the link now in the chat, and we would also share this via email. So please, if you are if you're here representing your team and you don't have your teammates on the call, please let them know, pass this information across to them, and also let them know they need to register. We'll be sharing the registration links for the live event, or like for these events, right? So you need to register, you need to have your tickets, because the admission will be via tickets, right? And only registered participants, so only teammates that registered with your team initially um would get a ticket, right? So all of this is just to say this is why we are creating the WhatsApp group, right? So that we can pass across this information as fast as possible, and also we'll also do that via emails. Yes, no problem. You'd get the recordings. So I don't think we have any more questions. I don't think we have any more questions that require answering. Samuel, do you have any closing remarks?
No, nothing much. I just wanted to say, I understand how the lack of provision for accommodation and transportation may be frustrating, right? I think as Ayomide has already communicated, we actually tried our best. It's important to note that this whole hackathon thing that we have organized so far is something that was thrown at our faces, basically. Um, and as such, we have been stretched thin in terms of budgeting, right? Naturally, we would absolutely love to accommodate and also handle your transportation, right? Best case scenario, but then currently we're unable to do that, right? And I just want to encourage everyone to do your best to be present, because it's going to be a memorable experience for sure. And I say that with all certainty, right? We're putting so much work to make this very decent for you, make it very memorable, basically. And I just want to say that we appreciate your engagement so far, and ultimately we would not be here without you guys, actually. So yeah, thank you for the engagement, thank you for the effort, thank you for joining this calls. I'm looking forward to seeing you all. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody on Friday and on Saturday as well. So cheers, guys.
All right, awesome. So yep, that would be it for today. Thank you guys for joining. We would we'll share a link to the recordings as soon as possible. But please be check your emails, and please join the WhatsApp group also. The link will be shared in the emails also for people that are not on the call. So that we can communicate seamlessly. So yeah, till we talk again. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.